Hello, I'm Ben. Welcome to the channel. So today we're going to talk about intelligence and what that looks like. So for most of us, normal IQ score intelligence range from 85 to 115. And obviously the mean of that's around 100. So that works out. It's pretty fairly easy to remember. And only 1% of the people in the world have an IQ over 135. So to be a genius, to be the 1%, you have to have an IQ over 135. So this is how that works out. Average IQ is 85 to 115. Above average IQ is 115 to 125. Gifted is 125 to 135. And highly gifted is 135 to 145. Anyone that has an IQ of higher than 145 is considered a genius. So when you think about the number of people that claim to be geniuses, that's talking about IQ testing scores. So the suggestion that the IQ testing scores would highlight who should be successful, that's the interesting part. A lot of times geniuses of an IQ of 145 or higher don't do that well in life. And so they have these thought processes that are amazing, and they're gifted, and conceptually they can do games and puzzles and move through things that would be difficult for others with relative ease. But that doesn't necessarily mean they know how to take that and turn that into wealth. A book that I would highly recommend around intelligence is this book, Successful Intelligence by Robert Sternberg. We actually did a video on it previously, but in this book, it talks about successful intelligence, which is analytical intelligence, creative intelligence, and then practical intelligence. So analytical means you can see things for what they are and document and adjust based on that. Creative intelligence means exactly that. You can create options and solutions and resolutions. And then the last, that practical intelligence, that shows that you have an understanding of how things work and why they work that way. And you can adjust accordingly. These types of intelligence are not necessarily predictable on an intelligence or IQ test. IQ tests do have some issues around how they're set up and the questions that are asked and why the way the questions are asked. So that does also impact how people are deemed on intelligence tests. Mental retardation is the lower edge of that. That is something that is common. So when you look at mental retardation, is diagnosed when a person has significantly impaired intelligence in combination with problems in living. So basically taking care of themselves, getting along with others, or doing what's appropriate. As you look at actions on YouTube and on public share sites currently, the question is that number rising? Because people seem to have a very difficult time acting in an intelligent manner these days, or it's captured more often and shared on the internet more often. So here's the least that you need to know about intelligence and the definitions of intelligence. They may vary, but most theorists include the ability to profit from experience and the ability to think abstractly. The profit on experience, that comes partly in the types of intelligence we talked about out of that book. And it goes back to saying just because someone's a genius doesn't necessarily mean that financially they're going to be secure. A lot of times, what they focus on and what controls they have over their actions, it limits them in their ability to be successful in our standard successful constructs in our society. So definitions of intelligence do vary. Most psychologists believe that there is more than one kind of intelligence. Some say there's as many as 7. I think the 3 is sufficient because it does suggest success in life. And ultimately, what is intelligence if it doesn't allow you to be successful? It doesn't allow you to prevent future mistakes that you might make from other people's wisdom and other people's learnings, etc. But the 7 reflect different abilities such as linguistic intelligence. I myself met someone once that spoke 14 languages. I can't do that. I don't have that capacity. So this person was linguistically extremely gifted, and I did not have that. I've spoken 2 or 3 languages in my lifetime. But to keep that, you have to constantly practice. It's one of those skills that if you don't use it, you will lose it. This person, on the other hand, spoke more than a dozen languages, and it was incredible to me. I felt like I was seeing genius. Mathematical intelligence, we've all seen that. We've seen examples of that. There's been many TV shows dedicated to people that are supposed to be mathematical geniuses. Musical, we talk about Mozart and people that are phenoms that are musical geniuses. That's a true thing, I think. Physical, and then social. All these types of intelligence can be graded, but they don't show specifically on an IQ test. So when IQ test, if they're saying that you're a genius based on the scores of a standard IQ test, these things aren't being considered. So something to think about there. High intelligence does not guarantee success in life. I said that. Emotional blocks, behavior problems, and mental lapses are all factors that may hinder us in getting ahead. I did do a video on those subjects, and it's basically from a psychological survey saying, okay, this is why highly intelligent people aren't successful. And it's the same thing. They have social blocks or mental blocks that get in the way of that. And we went over those 15 in the previous video. If you haven't checked that out, please check it out. Intelligence values may vary with culture. There is no genetic racial difference in intelligence, but sometimes cultural differences can impact the way people perform. Okay? And then the last is mental retardation, which is fairly common, just like savant syndrome, which is extremely rare. And those lie at the ends of intelligence bell curves. So hopefully this is enlightening around intelligence. I didn't want to go into a super long video on this, but I did want to kind of get that out. It's something I was studying at the moment, and that's why I do these videos. Whatever I'm studying during those days, I try to put a video up about it. Psychology can tell you a lot about intelligence and the factors that are measured in intelligence. And this book, Successful Intelligence, we'll go into the 3 that I discussed. This is a very good resource when you want to look at that. It talks a little bit about school testing and intelligence IQ tests around college placement, etc., and kind of shows you that those things really don't serve us well, because the people are going to be successful in life based on their other mental values may not test well on those. So it's interesting to see how we may have a system that's set up to cater to people who score higher on an IQ test, even though we have statistics and we have the analysis done over the last 50 years that suggest those people aren't going to be the most successful. So we need to think about that in our testing for schools and higher education type facilities. Something to think about. I hope you find that interesting. I do. If you like the channel and subjects to these, please subscribe and please share. I'm Ben. Be good.